No, I'm back again. Yes. How was that for a long phone break? Well, anyway, so actually, it was a really long discussion, and I afterwards I just had to go back and watch what was recorded to catch my thoughts. Where did I leave off? And basically, I was talking about the different pressings, or actually the word pressing is a kind of a misleading expression because people are using it for two different things. One of them is like different issues, like original issue or reissue, and then they call the reissue a different pressing. Or like if you have like an RCA living stereo, when it has different sashes, those are different pressings. And when you have the different sashes, like each of that is different pressing, but within each of them there's like the first lacquer, second, third, etc., etc., etc. And the lacquers are also called pressing. And usually when I talk about pressings, I talk about the lacquers. So if it's first lacquer, that's a first pressing. And when you are looking for a record, you always want to look for the first lacquer of a pressing. That would be like that's the highest quality of those series of that issue. And how big is that issue of the ratio is that I mean like the lacquers like going on and on, not the ratio, just different lacquers going from first lacquer through whatnot. It also depends on the company because like for Decca and Deutsche Grammophon, for example, there's not that big differences in the lacquers as with RCA and American pressings and copies. I think RCA is the worst, and that's basically because they made so many records, they just printed them just like by the wagon load, and they just kept on like using like the 60th lacquer is just like other companies like Deutsche Grammophon. I think they did not went so far to use their um, mothers, their stampers to such an extreme degree that you have just really low quality records made towards the end of the run. Of course, when you go for the first lacquer, the beginning of the pressing, it's throughout. RCA, Decca, whatever, they will sound really, really good and high quality. And by the way, when you listen to a first lacquer, that sounds very much like the master tape, and it sounds actually when people listen to it, they think, "Whoa, I'm listening to a CD." It sounds it has some qualities that are much more CD-like. Of course, it sounds like a master tape, and uh, and then as you have like later lacquers, they are more and more blurred. So the image like the small time scale differences are starting to get blurrier and blurrier. So essentially the first lacquer, that's just kind of like listening to the master tape. And of course, if you have an excellent reel-to-reel deck and mediocre record setup, then the reel-to-reel will sound way better. But if you have an excellent turntable setup, it can sound as rewarding as listening to the master tape. And of course, you have 10 people listening to the same thing, they will have 10 different ideas. And if you, especially if they listen to different tests, like 10 people, 10 different corners of the world, comparing their reel to reel to their turntable setup, their reel to their pressed record, will all have wildly different results. So it's just my experience that reel to reel can be really good, but if you don't have the original reel, just like a copy reel, then it's kind of like really close to like what you have as a first lacquer. The difference, well, you might not even hear it. Even the first lacquer might sound better than a copy of a master tape. So anyway, lots of things. We could argue on and cite examples day and night for which is better, which is worse, but usually, like, if it's a first lacquer, it's just incredible. Like, no, anyway, I don't want to digress now any further than I have already. So basically what I wanted to share is that the first lacquer, that sounds kind of like the master tape, but also, of course, if you have first lacquer that's been played many times by a system that's compromised, it's going to erase all that advantage that the first lacquer has. And sometimes I had a couple of first lacquers where I just had to get rid of them because they were useless, because the high frequency was just gone from them, or some distortion introduced by some unscrupulous caretakers who did not take care of their records, and it's quite a shame, really, really. Anyway, so what I want to share is, let's continue about Vienna. Oh, Vienna. And Fritz Reiner, Chicago Symphony, also RCA Living Stereo, LSC 2112, Red Seal, yay! Awesome, Germany, oh, Vienna. Well, not Germany, Vienna. But I was thinking of, when you see people dressed like this, you automatically think now of the Oktoberfest, of course. So anyway, and actually it has some nice music. It has Strauss, Weber, and more Strauss on it, and I think that the conducting is pretty good. So as music listening, despite that it has like a really popular cover, but it's pretty nice, and I like to put like stickers on it with notes, and then you see the 25S and /20S. It means that the side A is from the 25th lacquer, side B is the 20th lacquer. And how can you know it? You take out the records. There it is. And you look in the dead wax. Let's see, can you see the dead wax? I try to hold it without dropping it. So this thing here, that's the dead wax. And here I can see there's writing on it. I try to shine some light on it. Oh, there you see? There's a string of numbers and letters. And you see that? 25S, right there. Where is it? There. The end of it. So when you read it, it will start. Let me just. Have a look at it. Yep, 25S right there. Can you see? Anyway, it's somewhere there. It's really hard to see because but I really hope that it was visible for a short while. So but this is only for RCAs. So each of them have their own Deadwax system. The RCA's Deadwax system is that they have a string of numbers, and which identify the record. So it's this record, and the last, it says dash, and one or two numbers and the letter S, and the S, that's not for S for stamper, S for lacquer. Doesn't make sense. Should be L, right? Lacquer. Anyway, so and of course they might not be the same lacquer for side A, side B, because they used lacquers, for one, another for the other, and when the lacquer they check the quality of the lacquer, and if it's not good enough, then they change it. So the side B, it has like the 20, which one was the 20th? So side B was the 20th lacquer. So it means that those lacquers are holding up better than the side A. So that's why they are still using the 20th, and for the other one they are already down to 25. So this is kind of like a later pressing, like a 25th, 20th, and the sound was not that good. And in comparison, there's this one, same album, but there it is, 5th lacquer / 7th lacquer. So that's like a relatively early pressing, but as you see, this is the mono version, mono. And when it says like LM, that's the mono RCAs. That's the mono. And if it says LSC, then like here, you see it says LSC, then that's the stereo. And actually this sounds a whole lot better than the stereo version, because it's a much earlier pressing. However, I also have just like something special, and this is, just check that out. This is actually a German pressing of the Vienna album. Isn't that cool? And this one here, we can't really tell what the Deadwax is. They use a different Deadwax system than the American plants. So what is it? Let me read it out. What is it there? It says, manufactured in Germany. So there it is. If you don't believe that it's a German pressed RCA, where is it? Can I make the light shine? Oh, there it is. You see, by the light, manufactured in Germany. And the line is shining around it. That's where it is. Manufactured in Germany. And what else? Here on the other side, we have, what is it there? It's really hard to see. And it's a really long string of numbers and letters. So there we are not any wiser whether it's an earlier or later pressing. However, by listening, it really smashes these two. So it's a lot better. So this German RCA Living Stereo is the one. That's the keeper. I'm keeping this copy, and I'm giving these two to my buddy Jakar, and he really loves mono recordings, so he will be doubly happy to have two LSCs. And actually, I was a little bit conflicted about giving away the mono copy, because I also I love monos, like pretty much like that corner there. Wait, can I show it? Like this corner, that's all mono, but that's only a fraction of my mono records. I have most of them in boxes upstairs. So anyway, but what I want to do is just like try to condense them, so I can have everything out there. And if I have like things overlapping in mono, if the mono is like really good quality, really early pressing, if it was a first pressing mono, I would definitively keep it. But it also, it's not something that I'm really like dying to listen to, like Strauss. Okay, it's fun, and actually I can recommend this, because one of the piece like that I was listening to, that was like a deeper interpretation than I usually heard Strauss before. So I was like really pleasantly surprised. Oh, okay, actually I want to listen to it more in the future. What else? I'm showing you something else, and you see, when they are so shiny, when they are in a plastic cover, look, right? It looks really nice, right? Now I take it out from the plastic cover, and it looks really ugly and beat up. So that's what you can observe in record sales, that wow, it looks so good, these records look so much nicer than the ones I have. That's because they put it in a brand new sleeve and it looks like new, but of course it's not new. So anyway, this is also an early pressing, fifth lacquer, sixth lacquer, and I always put like notes on them, and at least on ones that I plan to keep. But eventually I'm going to give this away. Initially I thought I might keep it, but I'm going to give it to my buddy. He really loves these LSTs, and that's what I wrote on it. Fun album, cheesecake, electric guitar, Wurlitzer, and effects organ. So it really sounds like going to the circus, and it takes you back a couple decades, a couple generations ago, like how it was if you went to the circus in the United States. It brings that kind of experience, and it's not that not like a big church organ or anything like that. It's kind of like the wonky organ like you have like in, and those guitars like when you had the first electric guitars and these like first bands before like any hard guitar distortion came up, and it just like those sweet sounding guitar sounds. It sounds great though. So, and of course it's an earlier pressing. It really has like really big weight and really phenomenal sound. So if you want to hear like a circus music in really just high impact version, then there you go. That's it. And what else do I have? I have one more. I have a really deep adventure to share. And how are we with time? 17 minutes. Shall I make this a different video or not? Because it's going to be Rachmaninoff. And let's make it a separate video. So thank you, team, for being here with some music. Wow, music listening, me talking about music or just the records. I know I didn't talk much about the music, just about the records themselves, and hopefully maybe like to see the Deadwax. That was a good information. And whenever you see RCAs, if it will, yep, RCA, this is RCA too. You see RCA Victor there, and you see living stereo. Those are all RCAs. If you see the LSC number or LM, those are all RCAs. And for all of these records, you take them out and you read the Deadwax, you read the last number and letter, and it will tell you what lacquer it is. And the smaller the number, the luckier you are. If it's just single digit, then you hit gold. And if you see a 1, then that's true gold, and that's rare. And even if it's loose, even if it looks really beat up and scratchy, just get it, because it might clean up. Just if you have nitty-gritty, put it in, like have the nitty-gritty go through it 5 times, and even if it's like a campfire, nitty-gritty it 5 times in success, and it will clean up amazingly. And it won't sound like a brand new record, but it will be quite listenable. I had it was an RCA, a Tchaikovsky 1812 overture, and I couldn't even hear any music in it. It was so bad. So it was a true campfire. It was like that was it, and maybe some little music in the background. And just for the sake of it, like, what can we do? I did like went through it with the nitty-gritty, like VPI, whatever. You have record cleaning machine with the vacuum, right? And the fluid. You put the fluid on, machine, vacuum, done. And then I did it 5 times. So I vacuumed the record 5 times, and it cleaned up so well that it was glorious music. And of course there were some scratches and etc., but it was music, and there were some pops and clicks. But when you have a good system, then those pops and clicks are not part of the music, so they don't appear as you try to listen to it and then there's a pop and then there's nothing else. What was there? No. So when you have a good vinyl setup, then what you hear is, if you're listening, let's say, a violin solo, and if there's a pop, then the violin is right here in space, and the pop does not affect the violin. That's an acoustically separate event that has nothing to do with the violin. So the pop doesn't affect the body of the violin, the image of the violin, the harmonic structure of the violin. It sounds as if there's, maybe you have a fireplace hidden in your room, an invisible fireplace, and the sound is coming from that invisible fireplace. And there are the musicians, and the two are acoustically, completely, totally separate. So that's why I'm saying that if you have an optimized setup, a good setup, then you don't have to worry about scratched records, because it will be, if you have like a fireplace and you're listening to music while you have a fireplace going, it has the same impact and same experience, and it's kind of calming. I love like having a fireplace and listening music. It's a wonderful experience. And if you have a few pops like somewhere, and the pop is like somewhere in the space, so it's not like it's coming from the speaker. No, pops and crashes never come from the driver. It's like somewhere, like here, there's like a, or here, there, somewhere. And usually the pops live in a defined volume, in a defined space somewhere in the room, and it's acoustically totally different from where the musicians are. So that's why don't be scared of it. And I guess that often what you have is not this experience yet, but as your system becomes more, I'm not saying the word more revealing, because it can be like a double-edged sword. It can also be not revealing in a good sense, but just more encumbering, that is just throwing details at you, but it might not be revealing in a sense that it shows what is truly on that record, just trying to impress you and create the illusion that you are getting more of the recording, but often you are just getting more processing out of it. So maybe the high frequencies are getting more thrown in your face, or something like that happening. That often happens with a lot of vinyl systems, and I often find that a lot of what are called as more revealing is just taking the sound towards more like a digital sound, like it sounds more like a CD, and it, maybe you hear a lot of detail, but you don't hear the record, you don't hear what's really going on, you don't hear the actual image, you don't have the body, you don't have the emotion, you don't have the low level details, so like the beauty. So if you don't have here, like here, if you don't feel the sunshine and you don't feel the smell of hay and the fresh air when you are listening to it, then that's not resolution. If your mind is towards the mechanical aspect, towards like how good your stereo sounds, then I think that's not true revealing. That's just mechanical sound. It can be obscenely detailed mechanical sound, but all that it reveals is that there's a stereo system in your room, but it doesn't reveal the recording. So yeah, I'm just taking too long here, right? When does he push the stop button? It doesn't stop talking. Okay, let's pause him now. No, I just can't kill the recording. Now,